Holy hell, if this isn't the biggest news drop we've had from Darkflow, then I don't know what is. What's up, scholars? It's your professor here, Enlightened Enlisted, and the game meta in Enlisted is about to change for a major shift. So today we had two news releases about the much awaited upcoming major update. The first release, they talked about the addition of military ranks to your profile. The ranks are from private all the way up to marshal. Your rank is determined by how well you do in a match and your overall win rate. According to the news release, that at the start of each new battle pass, the player will be demoted on their rank, but it doesn't say how big of a step back that will be. However, we know that after each battle pass, you will not be fully reset because inside the release it says, quote, still the greater your rank, the higher you will start the next season. For example, the most senior army commanders will begin their new path to glory as officers. This is an interesting mechanic that is being added, and I'm convinced that we are on a path to a ranked matchmaking or a BR style matchmaking system. And that is something that the player base has been calling for a while now. The news release about this system reads as follows. Right now, the ranking system is just another way to measure your effectiveness in battle. It won't affect your account or in-game mechanics yet. The key word being yet, and that to me would indicate that the general direction of the developers is to have a rank affecting your in-game experience. Also, at the end of that news release, it states that people who achieve the rank of Marshal will get an award. Now, we don't know what that reward is going to be, but I'm hoping that it is something cosmetic for your character in game, but we will have to wait and see. That alone is pretty insane news to me, but this next update is going to change how Enlisted is played for many of you. The expansion of the inventory system to include new items in game can ultimately shape how the battlefield is going to look in the coming update. First off, I want to look at the item that I am the most excited for, the flask. That might shock you because it isn't something shiny or flashy really. I mean, it's just a canteen that you drink water out of that regenerates your stamina faster, allowing you to keep sprinting. But I truly think this will be one of the biggest meta shifts for the player base. For starters, this gives the sprint speed perk a purpose. Want to sprint past an enemy defensive position on a flank? No problem. Have a sword equipped to your engineer, that run speed increase perk, and the flask you can drink to keep you going. With that loadout alone and a radio operator to lay some smoke artillery, you're going to be able to sprint past the enemy defenses and put down a flank rally. This to me just seems like the tempo of the game is going to be a lot faster than what it already currently is. Sadly, the news release doesn't have any information about how many times you can use the flask, but I'm hoping it's only once, otherwise we're going to have a bunch of Speedy Gonzalez guys like we did in the Modern Conflict event. Now, the addition of impact grenades, I can tell you, is going to be super annoying. Something that can blow up on impact and being able to be spammed is just going to be a pain in the ass for most Enlisted players. They even say that you can run around with them as long as you want cooked back and use them when you want. Basically, I see people are going to have one running around in their hand, go into a building, suicide, kill your whole squad, then repeat the process. Which makes me think this is going to be the noob tube grenade spam we saw when they buffed it a few weeks ago. There is hope, however, as they do specifically say that these impact grenades will not be as powerful as standard grenades, so they might not be used as much because there are a lot of open areas in most of the campaigns. But for levels that have a lot of buildings, say in like the Berlin campaign or even Tunisia, I see this thing being a pain in the ass. I do think that impact grenades should be limited to the assaulter class, but according to this release, anyone can carry them. I honestly hate this edition because the last thing Enlisted needs, in my opinion, is more explosions to kill me. The last edition is kind of worthless in my opinion as well, but for some people, I can see it being a great addition. Binoculars are being made available for all players to equip to their soldiers. Again, I think this is somewhat of a mistake because I personally believe that the radio operator and the sniper should be the only one that have them. I personally have been pushing for a long time to have the radio operator only be able to call in artillery with line of sight from a set of binoculars, but that idea never gained any traction with the dev team. A strategy that I could see working with these binoculars edition is if you have a teammate buddy, you can pretty much start up a forward observer mortar team duo and help guide rounds directly on target. Hopefully we will see a buff to mortarmen in the future, and I want a way to be able to do a counter barrage on enemy mortar teams to come, but that's another topic for another day. The binoculars to me are just so situational dependent, and if they cost anything more than one bronze weapon order, I don't see them being worth getting. With the addition of all this equipment, it does make me wonder if the development team is ever going to implement the weight penalties that they've had in the game since the alpha. I mean, troops now are getting pretty hefty in their combat load, and maybe at a later date we can see a trade-off for players making a choice of how much or how little equipment they want to be brought into the battle. Well, scholars, what do you think about today's edition, and what are you going going to be carrying into the battle now? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, hit those books and hit those bottles. Cheers. Do you like kissing? Kissing these nuts?